Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wild Side Encounter. I am the Maverick, and this is a place where truth and controversy collide. As always, it's an honor for me to be here sharing with you my thoughts, beliefs, and my experiences. My goal for you is to have an out of your mind, out of control experience. At the same time, an educational, enlightening, and transformational breakthrough. Look, if you're looking for normalcy, this isn't the place for you. We get down and dirty. We discuss things that are a bit crazy, a little bit beyond the scope of ordinary, having powerful rooted dimensions in life. The world needs people who are going to be crazy enough to stand against the opposition, to get to the core issues, ultimately the truth that needs to be spoken, needs to be heard. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's take a ride on the wild side. Every day is a breakthrough at the Wild Side Encounter. I just love going into uncharted territory. As I said above, you have to be out of your mind, a bit creative to discuss topics such as the one we have for you today, particularly because they are the unknown, the unseen, which some people don't want to venture in, but the type of person I am, curiosity has always gotten the best of me my whole life. So, as you can see from the title of this segment, we are reaching far out into a realm that is clearly misunderstood. Is death life or is life death? Does it begin or does it end? Seems like a compounding question. But when we take a deeper look, you will find the mystery isn't that elusive at all. The topic of death seems to suggest there is a final end to our existence. But when we take a look at what death really is, we can begin to understand death isn't an end, but rather a beginning. I think it would be fair to say the most common fear people have is death. I mean, what happens after we leave this planet? This realm can be scary, primarily because it's misunderstood. But at the same time, it opens the door to an imagination that can unleash the knowing of what is. Death is a part of why we are here. But during the space between life and death, we can begin to understand that death isn't eternal, but rather an ongoing process of creation. After all, if you believe that life ends after you die, then in some ways you're already dead. If we take a look at the founding principles of Tai Chi, for example, which explains how opposite forces in the world are interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent of one another. It is because of death that we are ultimately here. It is because of death we can experience life. Think on this and you will see that it's true. The Tai Chi symbol explains this concept perfectly. For example, take a look at one of the highest elements on earth, breathing. The boss man, the chief nutrient, the head honcho, gives us life. It involves oxygen. What does oxygen do? Well, oxygen oxidizes by breaking things down, converting them into energy. Oxygen is an annihilating molecule. It destroys. In the body, when it relates to metabolism, oxygen creates combustion. It helps us to digest, metabolize, assimilate, and eliminate the food we eat. Metabolism is oxygen dependent. It produces heat, and a lot of it. And where there is heat, there is fire. Where there is fire, resources are being consumed. Every day, we are moving, thinking, working. We are generating heat. We're breaking the body down, only to be built up again. Here we see the process between life and death asserting itself naturally and effectively. I can explain this another way. Have you ever wondered what the human body has to go through to carry out its processes to maintain the death-life cycle so we as a species can continue to live? Let me explain. 2 million red blood cells die every second. Surface skin cells turn over every 24 hours. Bone cells get replaced every 3 weeks, which means you get an entirely new skeleton in 3 weeks. The liver replaces its cells in 6 months. Every single cell in the body is replaced every year. So what we are clearly seeing is the cycle of death being supported by the cycle of life that must occur in order for us to maintain our physical structure and our thoughts. Then you have brain chemicals called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are used by the central nervous system. They are chemical messengers that relay communication from the brain to the body. They do this by creating an electrical charge. They're basically zapping the crap out of one another, creating awareness, creating movement. Without this electrical activity, we wouldn't be able to do anything. The nervous system creates an incredible amount of chemical energy, consuming a massive amount of vitamins and minerals and enzymes within the body. The internal system is destroying and breaking down, all to be built back up again. And this process occurs every day. Everything that is required by the body to maintain balance requires heat and fire. We know that dead people are cold, right? Obviously, you're not going to have a conversation with them. But we have to be very careful that we don't overwork and overheat the system. Otherwise, it will break down. Then again, if we cool the system for too long, it will begin to slow down and eventually cease. Our thoughts cannot occur without heat. So if your body begins to slow down and cease because you're too cold, so do your thoughts. But if you end up overheating the system, everything goes faster. Your mind goes faster. Your heart rate goes faster because you're generating more heat. And now your thermoregulatory system within the body has to have enough water to cool the body. Well, that becomes a big problem when 95% of the population is dehydrated. If the yin-yang forces are not in order, then you progressively begin to break down and waste away. Sounds a bit harsh, but true. Using the principles of Tai Chi, we can gain a better understanding of the death-life cycle at work. The more heat we generate, which is yang, masculine energy, the more we break down. The more cold we are, which is yin, female energy, the more we slow down. We become sluggish, eventually seizing up, and your mind doesn't work very well. Now let's apply these principles when exercising. You have to understand that the body is breaking down during exercise, which is yang energy. You're breaking down tissue because the body is in a catabolic state. It's in a stressed state. When you're working at your job, when you're out and about, you're running around thinking, studying, your body is breaking down because there is an enormous amount of resources that are being consumed through the generation of heat. When you're resting and you're cooling the system down, you are using yin energy because you're in a relaxed, restorative state. When you see people increasing the amount of exercise and duration they spend in the gym only to be stuck in a plateau, rest assured they are not getting enough yin state because the demands they have placed upon themselves, their bodies are so high, the masculine yang energy takes over, and the regenerative demands the body requires from such a breakdown cannot compete. Visible signs are fatigue, sickness, infections, all a reflection of a body that doesn't have the ability to keep up to the physical demands that have been placed upon it, now entering the doorway towards the death cycle that cannot be renewed by the life cycle. There has to be a balance between the cycle of death and life in order for you to maintain your form, your shape, and level of consciousness. Take, for example, myself. As I am doing this podcast, there needs to be order within my biological system. The death-life force is a balancing act, expressing itself through my shape, my consciousness, my level of activity, my level of health, my words. All of this occurs as part of the cycle. When there is homeostasis between the yin anabolic regeneration system and the yang catabolic degeneration system, then the more you can break yourself down with exercise, working, thinking, moving, the more you can afford going to bed late at night or whatever it is that you do that can be destructive. And you can get away with it because your body will have the ability to pull you right back into the yin state, which is rest and repair. Again, this only occurs providing you are balanced. During every living hour of the day, which is quite a bit, your body is yang dominant, whereas at night, when you're relaxing, it is yin dominant. And as my mentor, the great Paul Chek says, from that point of balance, you will have enough water to control the fire and enough fire to warm your water. This is called living. Now let's draw our attention to the two main divisions of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. You can easily think of these two systems as the brake and gas pedal in your car. They are always functioning in opposition of each other. The sympathetic system is catabolic, it's destructive, and the parasympathetic system is anabolic, regenerative. Using the autonomic nervous system, we will see how the qualities of the masculine and feminine energies are very different. For example, the masculine radiates its energy in every direction, like the sun. So during the day, the body is sympathetic dominant. Remember, you're working, you're exercising, generating heat. Now let's say you're overstimulating yourself by drinking excess coffee, eating too much sugar, eating the wrong foods that govern your metabolic type, drinking those stroke in a bottle heart attack type drinks. I call them as Red Bull, Monster, and 5 Hour Energy. Your sympathetic nervous system, yang, is going to suppress your parasympathetic nervous system, yin. Living this way continuously, you keep the death cycle on fast forward, moving away from the life cycle. So basically, you are aging at a faster rate, which accompanies many of the diseases and complaints of aging that we see today. The reality is we are all dying, and there's nothing we can do about that, nor would you want to, because we're aging, and that's a part of life. It's totally cool. As I said previously, death is a part of life, but what we're doing, what we're taking to a different level, is we are increasing the rate of aging, thereby increasing the rate of us dying. By keeping the sympathetic nervous system constantly on, it's no different than using the gas pedal in your car without the brake. It spends way too much energy and its resources. You're going to crash and death will come knocking at your door. If we take a look at the female energy yin, yin draws into itself. It pulls energy towards itself. Again, my good friend Paul Chek explained this perfectly when looking at a pregnant woman. She pulls her resources towards her, in her, because she is making new life. However, if she fails to eat right, sleep right, if she's pushing herself too hard at work or during exercise, if she's taking drugs, if she's unhappy, her autonomic nervous system will be unbalanced and it will favor sympathetic dominant. And if it stays that way, she furthers the imbalance of the death life cycle in favor of death, which can hamper the growing fetus from developing. All we need to do is take a look at the mortality rates of infant deaths and diseases around the world. The female yin energy is in balance with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is repair, regenerative, healing, digestive, and elimination. The female yin will take the food that you eat, the water that you drink, and all the love that we immerse ourselves in, bring it all towards her center to help produce new life. Life is a continuous act of balance between the masculine principles of consciousness, movement, and thought, and the female principles which pulls energy towards us, cools us, and regenerates us. The problem with our Western living world is that we are far more yang dominant, fire, than we are yin collective. We must understand that a healthy body and mind is a reflection of the balance between the life force yin and the death force yang. Here are some things we can do, and right away, to rebalance our internal systems if we have any chance living in accordance with our biological nature to live a healthy life using the yin-yang principles. Now, for those of you who personally know me, this is somewhat of a reintroduction of what I'm going to say. So, If you think by exercising, doing yoga, meditation, that it's going to put you on the path to health and longevity, you're dreaming. Before exercise, before yoga or meditation, which are powerful, by the way, we need to eat high quality organic food. Not sometimes, always. We need to drink high quality water. Not sometimes, always. We need to have positive thoughts. Not sometimes, always. Because these factors provide the fertile soil for us to live life. Another aspect that many people don't want to hear, okay, which may overexceed food and water, is proper sleep. Now, when I say proper sleep, I am referring to getting to bed by 10 p.m. because this is exactly when the body begins its regenerative processes, which then flows into the psychogenic processes beginning at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Going to bed later than that, you disrupt the cycle of life in favor of death. It's really that simple, which is why so many people today have health complaints. Now, I can hear someone saying, and I've gotten this before, that I go to bed at midnight, but I sleep the extra 2 hours in the morning. And I tell you this, you're wasting your time. You cannot backtrack. The body doesn't make up the 2 hours that are lost. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear that, but it's a reality, so get used to it. Once you miss that window, your body doesn't make it up. It doesn't matter what time you sleep in during the day. As soon as sunlight hits your skin, you're up anyways. The digestive system also, more importantly, is screaming for more oxygen, especially those who are on a diet. The word diet, by the way, means to die. Let's get that straight. Diets are anti-life. They're anti-pleasure. They're anti-nourishment. They're anti-body. It's an acronym for death. When you're on a diet, you're starving the body. You are creating an imbalance because the body needs nutrition to use as a fuel source to maintain the death life cycle. Every organ, every cell uses food for nutrition. You need fuel to think. Your digestive system is wanting more oxygen. Parts of the lining of the intestinal tract use more oxygen than any other part of your body. The more we eat, the more our breathing increases, the more oxygen we take in, and the more we break down food. Listen carefully. The less we eat, the less oxygen we take in, the less digestive force. Remember what I said about oxygen? It is used to break down food into energy and supply that energy to all systems of the body. So when you're on a diet and you're eating less food, you are decreasing oxygen uptake, thereby decreasing metabolism. What happens when you decrease metabolism? Everything slows down. And if it slows down too much, processes eventually stop. Clearly an indication of the imbalance between the death-life cycle. And if speeding the process of dying isn't that important to you, and all you want while on this earth is to lose weight and maintain your body image, then that will eventually stop as well because your metabolism will be limited. The reason why many people lose weight on a diet, it comes to a halt, okay, and then gain it back is because your body figured it out. It figured out how to survive on the limited food supply and the less oxygen you have provided it. There are a majority of the population suffering from fatigue, illness, viral or bacterial infections, disease, all states of the death cycle, more importantly. And why? Because the body has lost its fundamental ability to rebalance itself due to chaos in the system. The biological order between death and life has been disrupted. It's now operating as a faulty system. The body cannot function this way for long and will not tolerate living in a chaotic environment, eventually giving up. Look at it this way. Does anybody wonder why the average lifespan is 76 years of age? Kind of pathetic if you think about it, because as human beings, we are designed to be living a lot longer than that, from many well-known pioneers in the field of the biology of aging, such as one, Dr. Ron Rosedale, who I've had the privilege to study from, We have been encoded to live out our existence until the ripe old age of 120. Yes, you heard that right. That's our actual set point, which isn't too hard to believe as there are many centenarians that walk planet Earth. We have become caught up in doing instead of being. The body doesn't understand this way of living and will function accordingly. This reality is being displayed in the many symptoms we see on a day-to-day basis. No longer can we ignore the cries of the body, the cries of the soul. What was once a whisper from your guardian angel is now screaming for help. The process of the death-life cycle works synergistically with one another to facilitate homeostasis. These chemical transformations occur so we can experience who we are. Living a long, healthy life is nature's plan. Living a short, diseased life is humanity's plan. You choose. Thank you again for tuning in to the Wild Side Encounter.